understand, man. Man, hey, man, we come a long way. It's an honor and a pleasure to see you and be able to sit and talk with you. This is uh, this is just some amazing things. The journey that we've taken, and the road that you've traveled, man, has been amazing to me. You sometimes,
Brother, thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me, my brother. I'm glad I'm able to be here with y'all today, man. This is an honor for me.
Dan, thanks for the we thanks for the giving us the privilege of interviewing you. And we know, Harry and I, we know for a fact, man, that the reason you sitting here is not only because of the relationship that we have, but it's also because of your heart and what you desire to do for the youngster that's coming up behind us. And by sharing some of you, a piece of you, that it may help some other people, which not no may, but it will. And man, for that, I'm so thankful. And man, my gratitude, man, is just out the seal.
And the reason that
You know, man, when we were coming up, man, the streets, you know, man, the streets were our lives. You know, it's what we wanted to do. We lived in them, and some of us, you know, there's a fork in the road. Some of us went one way, some of us went another way. And you know, the thing that I like to impress on these young people is that, you know, you're gonna grow up and you're gonna have your friends and you're gonna do certain things, but you got to really weigh out the consequences of what it is that you do, you know, and because some of these consequences will have lifelong, uh, they will be lifelong consequences. And they will follow you for the rest of your life. So any way that I can help, and I love what you and your brother are doing, man. What you and Harry are doing. I wish someone had done that when we were young.
Wow, that says a lot. Because I was just thinking about that very thing just the other day. We were talking. Matter of fact, some of our old friends, and I was telling them, I said, "Damn, man," and I ain't trying to pat myself on the back, but I would have loved if I would have had me when I was coming up, not taking away nothing from my parents because they gave us everything
Right,
they knew to give us and was able to give us.
right,
But man, the knowledge and
right.
the understanding that we have nowadays and on how to deal with our youth, and not just our youth, but ourselves too. And that brings me to another question from you.
Uh huh.
How did you How did you deal with some of your fears that you had when you was young? Because I know you went through some things, and a lot of people think that just because they see you as a successful star on the TV, and a lot of times people they think that that's where your life started, and they don't know and understand the journey. But what did you go through as a youngster, man? That may have prevented you from even being who you are today.
Like I said, I love the streets. I loved hanging out. I love going to parties. I love hanging out with my friends who they had a title for us called the Shreve Boys. You know, whatever that meant. We were from that area, so that gave us a title. And once you get that kind of jacket on you, you're from a certain section. All of a sudden, there's a whole lot of other things that go with it in terms of defending yourselves wherever you go. Uh, um, I had, like you said, our parents. Just the fact where we lived in North St. Louis, it was like a place for people who had taken a step up. Had taken a step up from either Pruitt-Igoe or from the Ville area where I originally came from, and and we did what young people do. We gathered, we were friends, and we decided, you know, and we got into things. I don't want to get into what those things were because it's a list as long as from here, from LA to St. Louis. It's a long list of things, and a lot of them wasn't pretty. But you know, I knew that I wanted more. You know, and I think back to your original question. Um, we, you know, we we wanted things, and we wanted nice clothes, we wanted hats, we wanted shoes, we wanted nice cars, we wanted all these things, and we would do whatever it took to get them. And I mean the whatever part. And somewhere along the way, man, I just decided I wanted to take another route. I don't know what it was, if it was God, if it was the of course we all had our parents influencing us, but somehow, I was just, God tapped me on the shoulder. I think I was blessed because I had some close calls a few times, some real close calls of going to jail or going to that place called the workhouse and all those things. And one of those things, and I think you and I have discussed it, is as young people, and they still do it today, young people wear going to a place like the workhouse or to the penitentiary or to jail even as some type of badge of honor, some type of passage into manhood. And it ain't got nothing to do with any of that. It ain't got nothing to do with except to your passage to slavery. And that's exactly, and somehow miraculously, because I don't know, man, something tapped me on the shoulder and said, brother, you don't want that. You want to go another route. And I am so grateful. I had a couple of teachers in mind that changed some things for me because I'd gotten kicked out. I told you I went to Lincoln High School, which we knew was Opportunity High School. Right. It was kind of a last chance place for guys who had done some crazy things. Yeah. And man, this counselor just took a liking to me. I know I'm running on, man. Sometimes I start running my mouth and I get going. But man, I was just blessed, brother. I was just blessed.
Hey, Stan, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
As youngsters, we're trying to reach the youngsters. How did you handle rejection?
Say that again. Say that again, man.
How did you handle rejection?
I'm sorry. Wow, that's a good question, Harry. When I was younger, somebody rejection, I would get upset about it. But then, as I got older, I understood that that's just your opinion. That's whether it's a female or someone that I'm one of my rivals, one of my buddies, or a job or whatever. It was just someone else's opinion of me, and I grew to a place where I didn't care about someone else's opinion of me. And that's how I started to handle it. When I was young, I didn't handle rejection very easily. And I think that's one of the things that we have to start instilling in young people. The rejection is just someone's opinion, and rejection can be a good thing. I think failure or rejection sometimes causes us to take another route, causes us to try it another way. And sometimes it can be the best thing that has happened to you.
Yeah, because one thing for sure, coming up in the neighborhoods that we came up and being who we are, we're going to get rejection. So
of course,
if we don't learn to deal with that and work through it and overcome it, we might as well close the door. We might as well go and start throwing dirt over it because rejection is gonna come over and over again. But that's one of the things that has played a major part in a lot of our young people not being able to be the best that they can be, and because they're not able to handle rejection. So I hear what you're saying about you came to that, but how did you get to the point? How did you work through that where you could overcome those rejections? It just didn't fall out the sky. Was it something you had to work on, or how did that happen?
Man, I think rejection is a part of the growing process, first of all. I talked about it in an article I did with Time that, I had roadblocks, I had detours. And when I say roadblocks and detours, in the business that I'm in now, I got a lot more rejections than I did acceptance, And as a young person, I got a lot of rejection. I got rejection from girls. I got rejection from my peers. And uh, I learned from my rejection, if that makes sense. I learned from it that okay, I got to try another way. I got to try another approach. I got to go around this roadblock. If she says no, I'm gonna come back tomorrow and talk to her again. I'm not going to accept it, and I'm not going to take it personally. And that's what I think these young people do. They take, because it is personal, but we can't take someone's opinion of us personally. That's just your opinion, you know?
Right.
And I hope I'm answering the question correctly, man, because these young people, they take rejection very seriously, and then they want to get violent, or they want to get, they want to do things, and it's just another person's opinion of you, or another person's reaction to you.
Okay, Stan, I want to ask you this.
I know I'm running my mouth a lot, man, but you all are asking me some real detailed questions, and I want to.
Did you ever think of the consequences of your actions when you was coming up? How did you deal with consequences? Did you?
When I was young, I didn't. I didn't think of the consequences. That's what got me in trouble, a lot. Now, and once again, those opportunities, those things that I did, I never thought about the consequences until the consequences presented themselves, and it's like, oh my God, what have I done? How can I change this? I didn't think this one out, especially when it came to things like dealing with the law, getting arrested, doing things that you thought you were going to be slick at. And slick, slick, that's just a word for saying foolish.
Right.
That's just another word for saying, as we used to say on the streets, ignorant or ignorant. It's hard to get young people to think things out. I'm sorry, bro.
Let me ask you this, Stan. We talked quite a bit about your upbringing and where you come from, but
right,
our viewers know that you are a successful star on a hit series, Abbott Elementary.
Right.
Now,
right,
and you and I have had conversations about some of the things that you went through, and it always made me think about some of the conversations that we had. Anytime I see you on the TV, I said, man, it's some of the stories we've already talked about has prepared you for what you're doing right now today. Because a lot of people don't even know you was actually a janitor before in real life. But what are some of the things that you've done that has prepared you for this, for the what you've your accomplishments today as a TV star?
First of all, growing up not only in St. Louis, but growing up with the crew and the area that I grew up in, it helped me. It helped me to understand rejection. It helped to harden myself, and not to take things personally. It took a while, but growing up in the area that we grew up in, growing up with the guys we grew up with, it just, St. Louis is a tough town. I love it so much because it's because of St. Louis that I am who I am. It taught me how to, if I got knocked down 9 times, I better get up 10 times. It taught me not to quit. It taught me to have a goal. And that's the thing I wanted to say before is a lot of these youngsters don't have a goal. They don't have a dream. And if you don't have a dream, that means you're just kind of out here wandering. If you set a goal for yourself, if you have a dream about something that I really want to do, and I heard this lady say, your dreams and your goals should scare you. It should be something that you might think is really impossible.
Wow.
And if your dreams or your goals don't scare you, then you need another dream. You need another goal. It's gonna take hard work. And if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be, you know, you it should scare you. How am I going to get there? The thing in St. Louis was it taught me a lot about, it made me strong, but there were no acting classes when I grew up. At least I didn't know of any. There weren't any in the African American community. I'm sure there were plenty in the white community, you know.
Yeah,
So everything I learned, I had to seek out for myself.
I don't remember acting classes either, but I'm gonna
I'm
tell
so,
you a fine memory that I have of you, and it always make me think of you. We used to go and see you and the Paramounts play. I mean, y'all used to give shows, and I mean, everybody all over the city came to see that show. But the thing that
right,
stood out more than anything that you was acting then, because you had
right,
your one of your biggest parts with the band. You played the part of the judge in the
right.
song
Yeah,
"Here Come the Judge." Here
yeah,
come the judge. Don't
yeah,
nobody budge,
yeah.
y'all. Here come the judge.
He got the judge. That's right.
Man, that was ahead of your time, and I know you were, because man, I thought the world of you then, and I still do today. But
Thank you, brother.
now,
Yeah.
where you are now in your life, and and we were just talking about it the other day. I said, man, this dude, he has not let his success take him to a place where he don't know and still understand where he come from and the people that he knew and loved. It's like it's the connection is still there, it's still genuine and it's real. And I'm gonna tell you, that says a whole lot about you and who you are, because so many forget when they get to where they think they want to be, or when they reach they hurdle, But I had to commend you for that.
Stan, let me ask you this, because I know it's in the neighborhood that we was raised in, there's a lot of
Right.
kids that go to school. But now I know for a fact you went through school. What made
Right.
you have that desire to go through school? What was it about you that you didn't want to drop out of school? You didn't want to play hooker from school. You wanted to do like that because you ended up going to college and stuff. What? Tell me about that.
Well, it's a combination of things, Harry. I'm gonna combine it with what both you and your brother just said. Lucky enough to find someone to mentor me. It was a guy named Robert Trice. He put together this band, and all these guys were exceptional. They're exceptional musicians, and they're exceptional musicians now. The other thing, based on your question, man, is I'll be funny now. I didn't want to sleep on the streets. If I dropped out of high school, my mom said, "Oh, you got to get out." My grandmother, who raised me, who was my mother, But it was just, man, it was just something. I just wanted a little more, And once again, I don't know if it was God shining down on me or what. It just put me in the place with the right people. The guys that I grew up with, of course, and all those people who I met on the path. Trice being one of them. Robert Trice kept us off the streets. He
Right.
put he put us in a place where we could rehearse. He bought us the instruments and the equipment, and he did that not only for the band as Paramounts, but I DJ'd most of the dances and all of the parties from high school. I started DJing in clubs, in adult clubs, when I was 14 years old, 15 years old.
Let me ask you
and,
this:
and
was Robert Trice ever called RET? I don't remember him being called RET. As
I
a matter
think Trice had, I think once we all, because, as we got older, we all went our own ways to college, and some of the guys went to Vietnam. But Trice kept doing what he was doing with the next group of young people coming up. And that's when hip hop kind of started coming
so
through.
he had a lot of young DJs coming up under him then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We
once
just made
once I left St. Louis, I'm sorry.
we just made a connection. Some of the people some of the young DJs that we working with right now today, just to show you how small this world is. One of the
Right.
DJs and a podcast producer, he came
Uh-huh.
up on up on the Rapid Tracks too.
Okay.
We just
Yeah.
found out while we was doing the show with you just right now.
Right.
This all
The
came.
one you did the other night. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You told me about the young man and about his generosity and the way he made the party the way it was. Yeah. Trice was a good dude. He had a good heart. He's doing what you guys are doing.
yeah,
He's doing right. Trice was the guy for me. What you and your brother are doing right now. A guy that was not only a mentor, but he was determined to make sure that we stayed on the right track. Most of us did, you know. I mean, we still did our things that we did, and I don't want to get into all of that because that's a whole other thing.
right.
But he made sure, man, that we not only that we rehearsed, he taught us about how to show up on time. He taught us about how to honor your word. If you say you're gonna do something, do it. He taught us about repetition, doing something over and over and over again. Then it becomes habit. It becomes habit. So if I'm doing other things over and over again, those are going to become habits. But he taught us how to show up, be prepared, and to give it the most that you had, to be a professional. And that was one of the biggest gifts I got from him. And it was one of the biggest gifts I got from St. Louis.
Okay, Stan, I'm gonna ask you this. Coming up as a youngster,
Sure.
I wanted some money, and so
Right.
and I know that's normal to want some money. So what did you do
Of course.
to put
Right.
money in your pocket?
Man, I had a job that I paid Social Security on from the time I was 12 years old. I wanted a Knox Jaguar hat, and I wanted a pair of Bannister shoes. And my grandmother, who raised me, said, "You can have all that, but you're going to have to pay for it." She said, "I'll pay for half if you can earn the money to pay for half." And that's what I did. And that instilled in me, okay, I go out and earn the money. I stand up again with my word that I'm going to pay for half of it, not look for any excuses. I lost the money or whatever. But back to your question, Harry, I had a job since I was 12, and I wanted more. I mean, the job didn't pay a lot, you know. And sometimes I was tempted to do other things to get money, and sometimes that temptation overcame me, and I did other things to get money. But uh, I wouldn't encourage anyone to do those other things because once again we got to deal with the consequences of doing those things,
Right.
you know. And like I said, I'm not going to get into what those things were, but it's natural for young people to want to have nice things. These kids now want $200 and $300 sneakers, and they will do anything to get those things.
And just touching back on some of the things that you just talked about, and I can see and feel the importance and the impact that your grandparents and your and some of your mentors and things had on you and in your life. But
Right,
we're dealing with a lot of youngsters saying that they ain't got that grandmother that you had. They don't
right,
have that parent that you had, you know.
right.
And so sometimes they may have to search or go elsewhere and hope that somebody can connect with them that won't mislead them or guide them down the wrong road. Uh,
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on that? Because see, it's easy for us to say as adults and grown up and we done been through this. It's easy for us to say, hey, you should go this route or this would be the best thing. But when you're a child and you actually going through it, that's a whole new ball game. Especially because see, when you young, it's easy to feel like what you going through is is everything. It ain't no tomorrow.
Right.
If
Right.
this don't work out, I don't do this, I don't get this or whatever, or if this happened, that's the end of the world. You know. So what's your
Or that you're the only one going through it.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
but but,
Yeah.
but, but how would you address that to our young folks that that they can still overcome in spite of some of the hardships that they're going through? And not only that, see the you went through some things too, and I know I did. See,
Yeah.
my life and
Right.
how I live, it's an open book, and I'm using that to share with
Right.
others so that they'll know that it is a life, even if you have messed up. You know. So what's your thoughts on that?
Right. Well, first of all, I would encourage youngsters, man, not to succumb to peer pressure. You know,
Hmm.
we were all victims of peer pressure coming up, and that's why we did some of the things we done. Uh, African American community, man, is full, and it's just gonna sound. I don't want to say anything to insult my community, but we have a low self-esteem attitude sometimes. And so that means that we succumb to things. I see a Cadillac or a Rolls Royce or a BMW rolling down the street. I want one.
Yeah.
I want one, and that's natural. Like I said, I wanted a nice hat and nice shoes and all of that. And some people would do anything to get those things.
Hmm.
And we have to teach and implore young people to not just, I don't even want to say earn it, just, and it is about earning it, but it's natural to have those desires, to want nice things. Okay, what is my plan to get those things? I got to have a plan. Okay, I can go out and rob somebody. That's not a great plan. In fact, that's a plan that's going to change your life tremendously. I can go out and try to take it from somebody, take it from one of my peers. We used to have a lot of that growing up where somebody would get their clothes taken from them, but I think that what we as mentors, what you guys are doing, you have to demonstrate to them not only that you earn it, but the satisfaction in earning it,
Hmm.
the satisfaction of putting that work in and seeing the reward from that work. Seeing the reward, man, I work for this, I paid for this, and then that makes you value it even more,
Okay.
and
You just said,
that's the only thing that I can say.
you just said, hey,
I'm sorry.
but I want to ask you to stand. If you wrote
Yes, sir.
what you did, and somebody took it from you, what did you do? Or somebody stole from
If I said,
you, they stole.
yeah, that's a real man. We used to talk about this growing up, man, about not having any back down in us. If somebody takes something from me, of course you want to defend it, and you want this is a challenge to my manhood. I got to go out here and deal with this.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? There was what was the movie? I forget the movie where it says, if somebody takes your property, you can get the property back. Somebody takes your car, you can get the car back. If somebody takes your life, of course you can't get your life back. But if you take someone's life, that's something that you can't replace. All those other material things, man, can be replaced. And young people don't understand that. And they, oh man, this dude, he did this to me and he did that to me. I like to use the term live to fight another day and learn to fight a different way, and that's what I've tried to instill in a lot of young people that I've taught. I've tried to instill that in the young people in my family who've also gone down some different roads. I have a nephew that spent a lot of time in prison, and he's changed his life. He's turned his life all the way around because he understands the value of not only his family who really embraced him while he was there and when he got out, and they not only in the embracement, they showed him another way because he was still a young man, even though he spent 10 years, but he was still a young person. He had a lot of life ahead of him, and we tried to just put it in his head. There's another way. There's another way, and thank God that stuck.
Stan,
And I hope I'm answering you guys' questions, man,
you
because
know,
I run my mouth a lot.
it couldn't be any better. Let me, you touched on something, and I wanna get back to that just a second.
Okay.
But you was talking about choices and peer pressure and making the right decisions and things like that. And
Right.
just you hearing you say that, we've been knowing each other forever. So
Yeah.
you know my history and I know yours. I don't know all your
Right.
struggles just like you don't know all of mine. But
Right.
I can remember like it was yesterday. We were all hanging out together, and due to peer pressure, being a follower, and all of those bad combinations, I went the wrong way, and that caused me to break away from you and some of my other friends that we were all real close. And
Right.
it wasn't long after that I was in prison. And while I was in prison, all the prisons was in the hick towns and stuff like that. So mostly all we ever heard was country and western and hoop hoop and and Billy Bob and
Yeah.
whatever. And
Right.
but one day I was listening to the radio and I heard a familiar voice on the radio. And I said, "What the hell is this?" And it turned out it was you. You
Yeah.
was the DJ that was bringing real music that I could relate to into the prison.
Right.
And
Right.
it made me think, I said, man, now we come together, we come up together. Here I am in prison, listening to him DJing over the radio, bringing music
Right.
into me, music that I can love and appreciate. Man, I never appreciated you and loved you more in my life than I did at that moment. And I mean, I would go tell all the people on the yard, all the other cons, and tell them, man, that's my partner there. That's Stan. And,
Right.
and so what you doing now is nothing new for real because you've been an entertainer and it seems like you always wanted to make other people happy through your work and what you love to do. But there's a perfect example of me making the wrong decision. And you made some bad decisions too, but you didn't
Yeah.
allow those bad decisions to overtake you and take you somewhere where you truly didn't want to be. But
Right.
I
Right.
don't know. I know I shared
I
that story with you once before, but I wanted
yeah.
the people to know because you made a hell of an impact on thousands of prisoners that
Wow.
didn't even know you.
I used to get a lot. I used to get a lot of letters, man, from MSP, from what's the other one? Oh shoot! I used to get just a lot of letters, but man,
You had Georgia State Penitentiary, you had Church Farm, Mobley,
yeah,
just
Mobley, Rince Farm, Church
Grand
Farm,
Farm. Yeah,
yeah,
it was
all
a lot.
those places.
They
Yeah,
had us locked up in so many places, and now I realize
right,
that we were
yeah,
slaves. I had made a decision that in my life that caused me to be a slave. I was working for $7.50 a month and didn't miss a day.
right.
But the time,
Sun up to sundown.
oh, it's
Yeah,
horrible, man. And that's something
yeah,
I made a decision. I volunteered for that. But
Yeah.
Hey, man, you done stayed the course. I know you done got off track doing different things. But that's life, who don't get off track at some point. But you still stuck to your dream and living the life and doing what you truly love to do. And that's a testament to you and your endurance.
Say, Stan, I'm gonna ask you this. Okay, you left St. Louis. Do you think that helped you to sustain your stability in life?
Oh
Change,
yeah,
right?
man.
You
St.
think?
Louis taught me a lot. Like I said, it's in my blood, man. I can't shake it. When I got to LA, my car caught on fire the first day the second day I was here. Burned up everything that I had. And it was like one of those moments where you can quit and go home, or what you gonna do. I didn't even have any money to go home, first of all, but it was like this omen saying, okay, now you here, let's see what you know and if it wasn't for my upbringing in St. Louis, I could have quit and came back. And I wanted to do that, but no, I had a goal. And Duke Ellington said, rule number one is don't quit. Rule number two is don't forget rule number one. And that's what I try to do every day. Is like, okay, man, don't quit. I don't care how hard it's going to be. Just don't quit. Keep going. Something's going to pay off sooner or later because you're putting in the work. As long as you put in the work, I promise you, something is going to change. I mean, something's going to pay off. But Harry, that comes to my upbringing in St. Louis, man. Growing up with your brother and the guys I grew up with, we used to call it making each other hard. Making each other hard.
Right.
But and not quitting. Oh, you better not cry. All that stuff, man. But all that stuff was a part of the growing experience.
Yeah.
And I just became more determined, and more determined in a different way. Back to what you were saying about the radio, Fred, because we were determined to bring big city radio to that area of the state of Missouri, something that they had never seen or heard before. And the guys that I was with, all of them, we made that pact. Look, man, they wanted to do this, we're going to do this, And once they found out how not just popular it was, but how the people craved it, they demanded it. There was no turning back. They said, "Oh, it's, if we stop this, it's going to be a problem," And so we got thousands of letters, man, and letters from guys that I knew growing up, saying, "Hey, man, thank you so much," and that touched my heart in a lot of ways, man. That I could bring something, some type of comfort, some type of joy to what I know had to be, a hellish existence. And I'm really thankful that I could do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, brother.
I don't know if you know it or not, but you brought a lot of peace to a lot of people in times of real trouble in them prisons. So
Wow.
those are hellholes. And man, just
Yeah.
to hear your voice and the music that you brought to it, music that we were familiar with. That
Right.
in itself, man, that was just so refreshing, and it
Yeah.
helped carry us. That
Right.
helped carry us through. We didn't have to. We knew we was gonna have a time in the day that we didn't have to listen to Romper Room and beat around the bush and five and all that type of stuff. And don't get me wrong,
Right.
white folks they cool, but we
Yeah.
didn't know what about their music and what they was bringing to us, and we rejected it. We didn't want to hear that.
Right.
But man,
Yeah.
that was awesome. I mean, I can guarantee you said that alone saved lives, man.
Hey, Stan.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Stan,
Wow.
let me say this.
Yes, sir.
Say this. Man, I really appreciate you for inviting us to come with you to that teachers convention downtown. We met those teachers, and I know they're gonna be instrumental.
Oh, man.
Able to go into those schools to help those kids. And I want to thank you for that, man. That was awesome, man. I think about that every day, that you gave me the opportunity to meet some people they can help me help somebody else. And I want,
Hey, brother.
and I tell Fred all the
Uh,
time, hey, Stan must think I'm some value. 'Cause
oh man, brother,
gave me the
thank you so much,
opportunity
man.
to be
You
able to
know,
help somebody. And I just want to take this opportunity now to thank you, man, for giving me that opportunity. Thank you.
oh wow.
Yeah, that was a
Oh
phenomenal.
brother,
That was
thank you, man. You know,
a
man,
phenomenal
you
occasion.
know, we supposed to do for one another, man. You know, that's you know, I'm 73 years old now, and you know, man, we got to learn how to do for one another, and and uphold one another, and embrace one another, and introduce new things to one another. You know, and I'm hoping that in some way that this moment right now with us here on this podcast, and we can do that. One of the things, you know, and I just had a lot of good people in my life, like you guys, a lot of good friends, man. You know, we all make mistakes coming up, you know, but I think that we're all in a place now that we can help these youngsters. And like you said, if we just change one person, if we save one life, we've we've had a great accomplishment. You know, I was lucky to have Trice. I was lucky to have the friends that I had. You know, I was lucky to learn from them. I was lucky to know who to trust and not to trust. You know, I learned those things at an early age, where some in my family didn't. You all know my brother. My brother didn't. He couldn't. He
One more
couldn't. You
thing,
know, he
Stan, get ready.
yeah.
Time is about up. What I want to tell you is this. We on Facebook working with Real Dream, and we want people to kind of befriend us on Facebook. And
Right.
then they be able to
I
do
will friend you, and anytime anything that you guys are doing, hit me up on Facebook and on Instagram, and let me know in any way I can help. I will help in any way.
Well, one thing I know for sure, they'll follow you. So in order for us to reach these youngsters and reach not just the youngsters, but the parents also, because they going
Parents,
through some things just as traumatic as the kids is. Because you got parents that got lost their child, you got parents that had their kids are in prison. So we need to touch base. We need to touch them
right?
also. So we want to
I'm
follow.
glad you said that, man.
Go,
I'm glad you said that, friend, because that's where it really starts. You know, if we can educate the parents, and I hate to use the word educate, if we can embrace the parents and let them know how to embrace their young people, to embrace them, to hold them
absolutely.
with love, and once again, we might be able to change one person. I don't know, man. You know, I just I know that that's what happened with me,
Well,
and you know,
understand,
and it
amen.
just helped.
Folks, this has been a fabulous interview with my good friend. He's Stan to me, but for you people, it's William Stanford Davis. The star, the actor, a lot of people don't know, the comedian, the DJ. I know you've worn a lot of hats, man, and you've been great. You've been great at all of them. We know your time is
Okay,
short, so we're not gonna try to impose some extra time in on you. We appreciate you for the time that you've shared with us today, and hope that we'll be able to reconnect on another day and time that where we can still reach out and just have a conversation about what's going on and how it is that we can make a difference. And I know that that's
man.
what your heart is, just like I. Hey man,
Man, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you and Harry, man, and man, what you guys are doing. Like I said, I wish that we had someone doing what you guys are doing when we were young. You guys are changing lives and saving lives, man. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. And God bless you both. God bless the organization that you all are creating. And man, just keep on doing what you guys are doing, man. And I'm sending you guys not only prayers, but I'm sending you much love, brother.
oh man, my man.
I love, like, and appreciate you, man. I really
Yeah.
Well,
Love you back.
yeah.
Take care, my
All
brother.
right, brother.
I'll be
All
in
right.
touch.
All right. You guys take care, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.